So I'm not starting a cooking show, but I did have a few people actually ask me about my diet and about my broccoli rice recipe that I made. So I figured I would just make a little video, because why not? I'm making videos these days, and teach you guys how to make it. So for those of you who don't know, I am on a keto diet. I'm flexitarian now, so still eating a little bit of fish, shrimps once in a while, and butter, and cheese sometimes. But I'm working towards potentially going full vegetarian. I don't know about the full vegan, but we'll see where it goes. Anyways, so this will be an almost vegan recipe. Because I ran out of coconut oil, so I'm going to be using butter. But other than that, it's vegan, so you can easily just put in some coconut oil or whatever your oil of choice is to cook with, and this would be a vegan recipe. You can also easily, obviously, add meat to it. This will go really great with fish, go really great with shrimp, with chicken, even with, like, you know, whatever your meat is. This is pretty much a basic recipe that you can add whatever you want to it. So it is a broccoli rice, because the keto diet is a very low carb diet. So I am not eating any carbs. I'm not eating any rice. I'm not eating any oats, any pasta. So I have to be creative and make rice. So I'm using broccoli. So everything's been cleaned. For vegetable wise, we have 2 heads of broccoli, we have some mushrooms, we have an onion, garlic, sweet corn. I like to add a zucchini and pepper, but again, you can choose whatever you want. For my source of like protein, I have some Brazil nuts, which is a bit of a carb. But Brazil nuts are actually one of the lowest carb nuts, so that's why I'm using that, as opposed to like cashews, for example, which is your highest carb nut. For the spices, I have some pesto. I have this really nice, which I'm going to have to buy more of to bring back to Canada, because I have never seen this, but it's an ají molido, so it's like a spicy garlic, little spice that I like to add. This is a mix of salt with paprika and chili. So again, a little spicy salt, a regular pepper, a lemon pepper, and I like to add sesame seeds to it as well. So that's it. I already have the water boiling for the corn. Yeah, should be fine. So we'll add that in there. So start with that, because that takes the longest. Then your broccoli will be what's the longest. So for the broccoli, what I do is I will cut it into small pieces. And I like to keep some of the trunk of the broccoli, the stem. I don't know what would be the right term for it, as I don't do cooking shows. But yeah, so you want to cut it into like mini bite-sized pieces, ideally, depending on your food processor. Like your food processor might be really dope and cut it, but mine is a smaller one. Right here, I actually have to leave it on, so I'm going to use this bowl. So yeah, chop up the broccoli into small little pieces, get that processed, and we'll continue from there. Right, so after your broccoli is all cut up into little mini pieces, we can go and put it in the food processor. So if you don't have a food processor, you can put it in a blender. It's just a little bit tricky, and you have to put little quantities. If you fill up your blender, just the bottom's gonna work, and then it's gonna be a shit show. So put like tiny little quantities, like a handful, throw it in the blender, and then you have to scoop it out and then put another piece in. So when I do this recipe, I like to do it for like 2 to 4 meals. That way you like do it, and then you have a few more meals to cook out of it. So for 2 bunches like that, that'll be like 3 meals for me. So depending on the size of your family, and if you're cooking for 1 or 2, you can kind of figure that out. But yeah, so blender wise, like usually about like a small handful, and then I kind of do like a stop and go, because I find it helps to get the chunks down in the bottom. Super technical. So I'll show you like the texture. This is like the texture we're going for. So rice. All right. You want to get all those like big chunks out. Bueno. So we have the last of our broccoli. Okay, so we have the last of our broccoli in here. I'm gonna go ahead and start that first because it takes a little while. You want to get that kind of like funky broccoli stink out. And that's gonna take a while to cook. So I start that and then I continue cutting and making the rest as I go. So I'm gonna put butter. Again, you can use whatever oil, except in this case you don't want to use olive oil because you are gonna cook it at a little bit of a higher temperature. Olive oil is not recommended. It's more for like salads and stuff. You don't want to cook with it, in case you didn't know. Now you know. So I'm going to throw some butter in here. And yes, I put a lot, but also because I'm on a keto diet, which is high fat, low sugar, low carbs. So I tend to put like double the amount of butter that normally you would use to cook. That's me. So I'm gonna throw some pesto in here, a little bit of my spicy salt, and the lemon pepper. Those are gonna be my 3 spices that I'm gonna throw in the broccoli. So I'll get that butter nice and melted. Oops, don't do that. Bueno. So we're going to use a spoon. I'm going to go ahead and put like a big spoon of pesto in there. I think I might actually put 2. So I do have a fair amount of broccoli. So 2 like fair amounts of broccoli, of pesto rather. A little bit of salt. And I like to use the spicy salt just to give it a bit more of a kick. And some lemon pepper. Give that a good stir. You want to get that pesto kind of evenly spread out. So because it tends to bunch in the broccoli, a good thing to do is kind of like put little splats around in the broccoli rather than just dump one huge scoop in one place, like I did. Try and break that up now. So again, you want to cook this like at a fairly high level because the broccoli is like even though, I mean, you just washed it, so it does have a bit of humidity in it, but it tends to like cake a little bit. So the idea is to put it like on medium high and not stir it too much, because you want the humidity to kind of dry out, and you want it to start to separate. So we'll let that go. I'm going to start to cut the garlic. I like it really garlicky, so I'm going to put like 2 chunks, 2 slices. I don't know the proper words for the pieces of the vegetables. Hola, ¿qué es?
Vino.
Vino. Oh, bien, bien, bien. See, this is my friend Kenny.
Hello.
Who lives next door, and she is also an energy worker. She does feng shui and has her own company, Pensa Positiva.
Yes.
Which is the name of her company, and I'll put the link down there. So she's my neighbor in Colombia, and she just finished actually cooking the recipe as well on her side. So maybe we can share. Tú metas el link del mío para inglés y yo meter el link de tuyo en español.
Perfecto. Compartimos.
Okay.
Gracias. Se ve rico.
Muchas gracias.
Chao.
Chao.
Tu vino.
Gracias, muchas gracias. So that is Kenny. That is my neighbor that I was talking about, I think, in another video, who is here, doesn't live here normally. She's here with her family for the Colombian quarantine. Her parents are in their 70s, and they keep leaving their house, as many older people do. And they're not supposed to. They weren't listening. So she decided to bring the family here and keep them safe. And she's the one who I've been practicing my yoga in Spanish classes with. She doesn't speak any English. And I've been practicing, obviously, my Spanish with. And we've been exchanging recipes and exchanging different types of energy work. As she does feng shui, she's going to be teaching me a little bit about that, and I'm teaching her a little bit about yoga and meditation. So it's been a really fun little exchange. So that being said, I cut the garlic. I'm actually going to wait a little bit, because I don't want it to be, I like it to be really garlicky, so I like to not put it in there right away, so that it kind of stays nice and plump and not overcooked. So we'll do that. Put a little bit of onion. I'm not a huge fan of raw onion. I really liked it to be cooked, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in like the middle of the broccoli so that that can get nice and cooked. And I actually could have put the onions first, personally, because like I said, I like them to be really cooked. Afterwards, it's going to be the zucchini, which is going to take a little bit longer. So we'll go ahead and grab a little bit of zucchini, about this much, about 1/3 of a zucchini. And I'm going to cut them. I don't like the zucchini to be too mushy, so I like to cut it in bigger chunks so that it kind of stays a little bit crispy in the center. So we'll throw a couple of those up in there. And again, like totally optional. Then we'll do the mushrooms, which I've pre-cleaned. Everything's been pre-washed. So again, cut it in the method that you like. I like to cut them I like to slice them and then cut that in half because these guys are pretty big. So in order to have like different layers, I don't know if that's the right term, but different layers of taste, I like to use different spices on the different ingredients. So I'm going to grab my bowl, throw all of my mushrooms in there, and then you could drizzle a little bit of your oil in there. I'm going to add more butter. Chunk of butter, and I'm going to add some black pepper, and I really like pepper, so I use a lot of it, especially with mushrooms. Mushrooms and pepper just go really well together. And I'm going to use my spicy garlic little spice here. I'm going to put a fair amount of that. So my mushrooms will have like a nice little spicy kick to them. I'm going to mix that up. So by now the broccoli should start kind of like breaking up a little bit and being a little bit more dry, which is what we want. I'm going to wait a little bit more. Oh, garlic. Good time to add the garlic. But I'm going to wait a little bit more before putting the mushrooms in because I want the broccoli to really separate, dry up a little bit here. So I'm going to cut the pepper in the meantime. Use about like maybe one more, like 4 slices, 4 rings. And again, I like these to stay a little bit crispy. So I'm going to put these in at the very end, and I cut them in like a good size chunk, bite size. And then nuts will go in last. Oh, our corn. Our corn should be ready by now. So I'm going to let that cool down. What else? Let's check on our broccoli here. Good, so I'm going to add our mushrooms with that extra butter and get that mixed up. I really like this recipe because you can change it. You can add stuff to it, make it different every time. You can add a different meat to it or a different side dish, and it keeps in the fridge for a couple of days, so it's good to make a big chunk of it and then just keep it. So I'm going to do a little switcheroo here with the peppers. Take our corn that's cut in 2 and just slice off the little niblets, corn kernels. ideally, you want your corn to be a little bit cooler because it's really hot right now. Add corn in there. And my hands are total wussies when it comes to heat. So. And I have just about the worst knife, like, it's so flexible, not what you want in a knife. But you do with what you got. And this is what I got. I'm grateful to have a knife. Bueno, so this is done. We can mix this up a little bit. And then we'll have the peppers to add at the very end. And at this point, I'll add the nuts. So you don't want to put the nuts in too early because they'll burn. So this is Brazil nuts. They're already kind of chopped in little pieces, which is great. You don't have to do that. If not, you just cut them. Easy enough. And because this will be my protein for this dish, I'm going to go ahead and put like, what did I say? This is about like 3 meals for me. So I'm going to put like 3 good handfuls. Mix that up. I'm going to wait a little bit, a few minutes, and at the very end I'll put the sesame seeds, and that'll be that. And we'll have ourselves a nice meal. And by magic, when you're a high priestess, everything gets cleaned away and your kitchen gets reset. Just kidding, I did all the dishes. So I left that to cook about an extra like 5 to 7 minutes depending on your heat. I like it, like I said, I don't stir it a lot. I like to leave the bottom kind of cook and then do 1 stir and then let that sit for like a minute and then do that. So it gives this nice, kind of, let's see if we can, kind of toasted veggie a little bit. Nice and yummy. So I like to eat this by itself just like that. I'll make myself a bigger portion. Or like I said, if you want to have this as a side dish and add some meat, then you can do that too. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, let me know. I might be persuaded to share some more recipes because I have been making some really yummy food. It's been limited access to what I can have here. I'm not, I don't have the things that I'm used to having. So I'm cooking a lot of raw food, a lot of veggies. Like I said, I'm kind of doing the keto thing now, but it can all be adapted. So if you did enjoy, let me know. You can write a comment in the box below. And if you haven't already, I would love to have some more subscriptions. If you want to kind of keep in touch with me and see what other crazy video I want to do next, keep adding stuff. So please subscribe. I think it's going to show up down here somewhere. And let me know if there's anything that you would like me to do, and I might accept the challenge. So that's it for now. Bon appetit. Buen provecho.